welcome to Customer Effects Training Webinars. My name is Dale Richter, and today we're going to be talking about the SalesLogix Cloud. We're going to be looking at the new administration options that are now available within the cloud. Today we're going to be looking at creating a new user. I want you to hang on just a minute while I switch over to the cloud, and we'll get started creating a new user. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so here we are. I've logged into the cloud and we're currently looking at my welcome page, and I am just going to go up here to the top of my screen where you see administration. Now I have this administration menu because I am logged in as admin, and you can see that in the upper right hand corner of my screen here, administrator. So I'm going to click on the administration menu there. And you see all the different things we can do with administration now within the cloud. We can add users, we can add new teams, new departments, new roles, new products, new packages, new competitors, new lead sources, and new literature items. Now, I will have a new webinar for each one of those items. So we're going to start out right at the beginning here, and the first thing we're going to do with this webinar is add users. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Users. And it brings up my Add User dialog box. And you'll see here that I have different types of users that I can add. So if I click on the drop-down box here, you can see that I can add a network user, a remote user, web only, a concurrent user, a web viewer user, a template, or an add-on user. Now, we're going to create a template that we'll then be able to use when we create other users. So for this webinar, we'll be looking at creating a template. So I'm just going to choose template here. You'll notice there, when I choose template, that no license is required. If I switch back here, let me switch back once to network user. When I do that, you see that it also shows me how many available licenses that I have. On this test database, I still have 6 available licenses. So again here, I'll switch back to template because we're going to create a template here. No license is required to create a template, so you can create as many templates as you want. Down at the bottom here then, create profile from. So if I have already created a template, I could use create profile from and then choose my template. And here's all the different templates that already exist. And we're going to add a new template in here, and we'll call our template, let me see here, we already have sales. I'll call it sales administration when we get into that point. Down at the bottom here, when we're using a template, I can also choose the portions that I want to copy into my new template or my new user. So if I'm creating a user from a template or from an existing user, you can see here I can also create from an existing user and then choose the user. I can choose which portions of that user or template that I copy into that new user. Now, of course, we're creating a template from scratch, so we can see all the different options here. So I'm just going to take that off, the checkbox off from creating a profile from either a template or a user. And I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. So as I wait just a moment here, you see that it says creating a new template. Okay, and here is our new template name, and we can just go ahead and name our template then. I'm going to call it Sales Admin. I'm going to put that also in the name field. And now you can see it's grayed out a couple of the fields that are going to be specific to the user, so they can't really be set up in a template. Over on the right here, though, we can set up our region. And here's all the different regions that already exist. Now, region is just a pick list, so if you wanted to switch regions, you would add those to the pick list. Same thing with division here. We don't have any divisions in there, so I'm not going to choose one here. Manager. Who is going to be the manager for the sales admin? I'm going to leave it set as administrator right now, but you could certainly choose another user. Scroll down here a little bit, and now you see we have all these different tabs that we can fill out for each one of these users. So, under the employee tab, this is where you'd fill out the company name, the address fields for the company. Now, this is going to be your company. So if you're already keeping this information like in an accounting system, you certainly do not have to fill it out here. But you can fill out the work phone, the mobile phone, things like that, home phone, a spouse's name, they got the birth date, hire date, even the social security number field if you want to use that here. Again, if you're already keeping this information in your accounting, you probably don't need to keep that here. So now I'm going to move over to my Others tab here, Other Calendars. So Other Calendars, this is telling us who this user would be available to view. So up in the upper right here is where you would click the plus sign to add other users to the list here that this template user would be able to access. Then you're also able to edit those, and when you edit those, you'll be able to choose whether you can add, edit, or delete to that calendar. Okay, so let me access the Notes tab here. And you'll see in the Notes tab, this is just a place where we can add notes about this, this template that we're creating. Or if it was a user, on a user record, we could add notes about that specific user. Let me jump over to the Service Support tab here. This is where you would set up whether this user is available for service and support calls. Now we're setting up a template here. This is Sales Admin. So I'm going to uncheck that box for available for calls because they are not a service representative and they would not be available for service calls. And there's some other checkbox there. You'll see notify user of new tickets. User may grant access to the customer portal for customers. User has submit to speed search as a default, or notify user of new ticket. Those are all options that we're able to set, of course, for the service or support users. Let me then jump over to the Client System tab here. Under the Client System tab, let me scroll down a little bit. The default owner. So as a user sets up records, what do you want to set as the default owner for that user? Right now we'll set it as everyone. So as this user, as this template user, creates new records, each record will have the owner set as everyone. That can be changed as you're creating new records, but the default would be everyone. And here we can choose whether that user can change those settings or not, and I'll leave that checked. Then below that we have our base templates. The base templates show us our base email template, our base letter template. So as a user creates a letter or an email, what is the template that opens up first and allows them to change that as they're creating other templates? And they have a base letter and email that comes from SalesLogix as well as fax here. And we can also allow the user to change those, so if they set up their own base templates, letters, they can put them in here. Next, we'll go over to the User Calendar tab. And under the User Calendar tab, so here we have User's Calendar. Now this tab, different than other calendars. The Others Calendar tab decides who that user or who that template can see. On the User's Calendar, this decides who can see this user's calendar. So in the same thing, you'd click on the plus sign to add other users, and then of course you can edit that to edit whether they can add, edit, or delete to this user's calendar. We also have a More Tabs tab here. So if there was other tabs to set up here, we could go in here, like team membership. We could go in and add the other teams that this template user would be able to access. This user's team, this user's team membership, all of our security, and then lastly our department membership. So once we set this all up as a template user, then if I go back here, let me go back into adding a new user again. So I want to make sure I save this information. Once that information is saved, then I'm just going to go back up to the top here to add users. Now when I go into add users in the future, if I choose to add a network user from, and I'm going to say create profile from a template, in my drop-down box I would be able to choose the sales admin as my template to create this new user. So, and very often that's what I do, is use templates to create my new users. The other way I like to create users is from existing users. So if we have a new user coming on board that's exactly like another user we already have, we can say create the profile from an existing user, go in and click the magnifying glass, look up that user like Lee Hogan here, click on OK, and I can go in and choose the different areas down in the bottom here that I want to copy to this new user. So then all I'd have to do is fill in that username, that new username, their specific information like email address and direct phone number, and I'd be all set. So this is new features within the SalesLogix Cloud, where from the administration menu we can add new users. I want to thank you all for joining me today, and look for other webinars where we go in and look at all the other administration choices. Have a great day.